shaping our very perceptions of reality itself. One that we did not choose, but one we must take over. There's no more waiting. Now is the time, because it's now or never, now or never. Open up your mind's eye to see reality the way it is, not the way that you've been sold. Understand that you are one of the ones that have been chosen if you just choose yourself. Become your own solutions to every problem and every complaint, every excuse and every blockade that's been in your way. Vision gives one direction. When you're blind, you can never give yourself direction. So you fall. Instead of falling, stand up. Utilize the self-giving and governing power that you have within yourself to become a high-level observer. Not controlled by what you see, but one that controls what they see. That defines the meaning in their reality through every synchronicity that they come across. A divinely guided man or woman. High level forever. Stomach in, chest out, head up. How you teach a generation that don't know themselves? How do you give them the ability to be able to control the world? Not from an external point, but from an internal point. How do you teach them that the greatest enemy that they have ain't racism, ain't classism, ain't fascism, ain't poverty? No, it's the enemy that exists within. It's the self-war, the thought war that you go on a daily basis. How do you equip them with the tools to be able to win that war? You have to show them who they are so that they can customize their universe. We look at the technology and people talking that's the mark of the beast. The mark of the beast is when you have a beast-like mind and don't have the ability to be able to control your nature. That's when we no longer operate from a soul place of morals and values and principles and vision. But we can name our entertainment every single day because we distracted with escapism because it's too hard to deal with the emotions that's required to heal yourself from the trauma. How do you teach them to be able to encompass everything that they want to be, to take thoughts outside of their mind and see it in reality, and not be satisfied with mediocrity? You have to give them the militants of discipline. You have to give them the rules of order. You have to show them the possibility in your own actions. You have to be courageous every single day, even if you don't want to do it. You do it because you have to. They destroyed us. Made us a desire-based society, always fall into the whims of your emotion without control of your mind. You teach, you elevate, and you lead, and you encompass everything that you are on a daily basis, and you operate with that God mind, and you live above society, each other. I have a question for you today. This question must be answered in order for us to be able to take on power. Are we low level or high level? I didn't hear the ground shake. I didn't feel it yet. Are we low level or high level? Are we low level or high level? When I ask you who owns the question, I need you to ask honestly, answer honestly. Who owns the question? I say honestly. You thought it was a trick question. Because we know that we are the battery packs of the culture. We know that they have utilized our spirit, our time, our energy, our attention, our money for centuries. Yet we have not been the owners of the culture. Now I want you all to have a thought experiment within self. Because something that I learned about the future is that unless you are the greatest influencer over your future, the greatest controller, the greatest funder and supplier of your future, you don't control and you don't own it. Oftentimes we are asked about the future, and we are left to think about somebody else's plans for it because we don't have any plans for it. When you think of the future, it makes you think bigger. If somebody told you that, listen, I need you to put together an event, you only got 1 week. Well, you can't think too big. You have to think about the resources you have now to get something done. But if I told you, man, you got 2 years to get this done, I need you to start planning. All of a sudden, you start thinking big. You start thinking you can do anything, especially if you have the funds. But unfortunately, we've been stuck in a survival mode, not being the greatest controllers of our time. So when we think about planning, we think small, because we don't think we have that much time. So the moment that I need you all to take in today is to ask yourself, what does the future look like in 10 years? Who are the greatest influencers over our future? If you don't have a thought of yourself being at the forefront, controlling your opportunities, controlling your wealth, and controlling your power, then you are a slave to the future that somebody has planned for you. We exist in the greatest moment on this planet Earth. That's living in the now. But when you're stuck in the now, and you don't know how to project yourself far out, then you get what they call future shock. Future shock, when things are changing so much, you get disoriented. You start to be stressed and have anxiety. How many people have experienced anxiety over the last couple of years? People that probably never experienced them before, all of a sudden they can't think, because every single week the world changes. One week is AI, the next week is aliens. The next week Trump getting arrested. The world changes so fast you don't have time to process the new shift that comes in. So therefore you don't have power and control over, well, how am I going to intake this? What am I going to do with it? And we're stuck in a culture of what's called fast consumption. We consume things so fast. As soon as the album comes out, we're thinking about the next album coming out. Because we're stuck in survival mode, waiting to be stimulated by the next thing. How many people in here watch Highlevelconversations? I didn't do Highlevelconversations as a podcast. I guess that's why they don't put me on their list when they talk about the top 10. Even though I don't care what network they talking about, we got bigger numbers and we got bigger conversations. Because when we put our Highlevelconversations, I didn't think about fast consumption. We made them 2 to 3 hours long. They said, ain't nobody want to hear no Highlevelconversation that long. I said, shit. They don't want to hear you talk for that long. But if you give the right platform to the right mind that was born at the right time, it's a great idea. The problem is all they gave us was entertainment. So they thought that's all we wanted. So I said, no, we are in the different wars that's going on today. We got media wars, attention wars, currency wars, AI wars, trade wars, moral wars, gender wars. I always, don't say yes to that one. I always say, as long as you're still attracted to women, it can't be no gender war. As long as women still attracted to men, it ain't no gender war. We gotta have a war to fight for the family, not a war to keep the family divided. See, I need y'all to really clap for that. I need y'all to really stand up for that. Because without family, we ain't got no damn wealth. I don't care what you build as an individual, who you gonna pass it down to? Who you gonna spread those ideas into the next generation? Well, we ain't just controlling space, but we controlling time, to where if I put it in this child, then he takes it for the next decade or two. And then we continue to build. Because we can't talk assets unless we got family. That's the greatest asset of our culture. That's the greatest backbone of any society that they build from. They take the ideas and they impregnate it with the youth, and then the youth becomes the birth of those ideas into reality. So I need everybody to stand up. Everybody to stand up. Because what this represents, that we are standing up for our families. This is representing that we're working on healing the bonds and reconnecting our communities to come back together. This is saying that I'm not going to be stuck in binding over trauma. No, let's bind over healing. See, I know y'all not ready for that because they taught you that your power is in your separation. Your power is being independent of each other. I'm here to tell you that your power is being interdependent of each other. We can't celebrate Black Wall Street where there was family, there was enterprise, they was working together as a community, and then go do the opposite and talk about progress. That ain't no progress. That's slowing us down. That's devaluating our crowns. I'm here to tell you the only power that you have is when you black man, you black woman looked at each other and said, we parties. Now I know I came up here looking like a Nobel Drip Prize. Because I know I can't get your attention right? Unless I'm up here looking good. So did I do my job today? Y'all was louder than when I said get up for family. Okay, I must have did something right. So today I want to talk to you all about this revolution we got going on. Because as we talk about the future, and you all can sit down. As we talk about the future, we have to think about what is our control mechanisms. We have AI, artificial intelligence, artificial insemination, artificial ingredients, and now we got the new AI everybody learned about, the alien invasions. All of these things don't matter unless we have power over them. So the question today is not just, where are we? Because I ask my students this question, where are you? Because unless you know where are you, a GPS can't give you directions. So you have to know, where are you in life? Are you in the vision stage, where you're still experimenting, trying to figure it out, and you need a vision that will set you on a journey to develop your skills? Are you in the developing stage, where you know what your vision is? Now you're developing to become the person that can bring the vision outward into reality. Building stage, where you became that person, now you have to put in the intensity of work to bring it forth into reality. Then, you have to understand when you are. We are in the great transition. The great transition is us going from different ages, from analog age to digital age, to the artificial intelligence age. And when you can identify when you are, now you know how to take the opportunities. If our forefathers, if our ancestors, if our parents knew and can identify when they were, then they can build their business models based off identifying the time that they're in. So for us being in the transition phase, you see people fighting for their rights. Everybody wants reparations today. Not just black people. They got the SAG strike out there. They want their reparations because they believe that institutions have treated them wrong. And there's not enough money flowing around and prices are too high for people to continue to ignore being robbed. Then you see what just happened. UPS workers went on strike and became richer than everybody. Black people still ain't get cut no check. But this is a time of dissatisfaction. And dissatisfaction brings out 100% change. See, there's a mindset that has been cultivated amongst the people of demoralization. The demoralization of the culture happens when you no longer have the values and the principles at the forefront. I can ask the person, what's your top 5 rappers, and we have that conversation all day long. I have it. But if I ask you about your top 5 core values, you've already done list them off in rapid speed. But if what you do is not connected to the values of who you are, then how you know you're in line with that God self? See, we always talk about our plans as individuals. What you're going to do. I came on this stage and I was like, what do I want to say? And I had to correct myself. The question became, what does God want me to say? We have a spiritually dry culture. The disconnection from God is at an all-time high. Because man was taught he has free will, but now this rebellious culture is, I'm going to do whatever I want to do. Shamelessly, judgment-free. We can get funded for death, pimping, prostitution, faster than we can, pushing out an economic revolution. And that's because one continues to feed you into the cycle of somebody mastering your energy. See, when the influencer thing came out, they tried to demean you by you having influence because they gave you tools, because access is the new wealth. Now they give you resources that democratize access to tools that only the wealthy had at first. So they say, oh, you're just an influencer. Not knowing that if you look at a town has 1 to 20,000 people. So if you have influence over 1 to 20,000 people, you can down there be a mayor. If you have influence over 100 to 200,000 to 1 million people, you can be a governor. They say there's 20,000 people here. If 20,000 people make the average of $30,000, how much money is that? Think about that for a second. I'm gonna let y'all calculate and come back to that. Because what we don't realize is that we have the power over billions. America is in a downfall spiral, losing its power as the greatest influencer over the world. But they understand that their influence came from our culture, so they had to make sure that they regulated you and let you never know your power. So therefore, they never had to pay you what you're worth. You're just a little influence, I give you $500. Whole time, you have influence over billions of dollars. Whole time, when you put out music, it influences the spending power of the world, not just your culture. So if 100,000 people got $30,000, that's $3 billion. If the average person is spending $4,000 to $5,000 on clothing per year, they're paying you so that they can get into your influence sphere because you have the attention of the people that they want to consume their product, and then they pay you pennies. So you now have to be a community organizer. It ain't about utilizing their platform while they take advantage of you. It's about you building a community so you can have control over their influence. The only thing America can do, in my eyes, if America wants to be that great superpower again, they have to give the money to the influencers. Black men, unfortunately, raise your hand if you're a black man. Unfortunately, these brothers that raise their hand, we fall into a statistical category of having the worst stats of anybody throughout America. When it comes to health, when it comes to heart disease, when it comes to cancer, gun violence, poverty. We only rank number 2 in one category, and that's suicide, because they don't grade us as the slow suicide we go through. So we do the things that start to kill us. We join things that know is eventually going to kill us. But there's no empathy for us. So we learn how to be resilient. We learn how to fight. We learn how not to show emotion. We learn how to be creative and innovative in every capacity. I don't remember the last time I seen a fund that was specifically for black men in the advancement of youth. Never, ever ask yourself why. Because they know once you get the power, you don't need them. Once you have the power, you can control. I went to Ghana. Shout out to my Africans in the building. I went to Ghana, and Ghana was the first time, so I felt true safety as a black man, ever. And I didn't even know that level of safety even existed. But what I realized is that even when we start to get money, even when you build a platform, you have to be even more defensive. Now you're worried about somebody wanting to take what you got, somebody wanting to dethrone you from your spot. So we never feel safety, we're always on edge. So when you're not safe, you can't properly think about the future, so when you can't broaden your horizon and awareness. When I went out there, I experienced what they call glimmers. Glimmers is when you start to feel safety and joy and peace and relaxation, and anything that reminds you of that. And our culture, unfortunately, all we experience is triggers. Things that make us feel unsafe. Things that give us anxiety. So when we see what happened in Alabama, that was an example of a glimmer. When that brother took that chair, and when the other brother swam over there, that was a glimmer. It made us feel good, didn't it? We need more glimmers, because all we do is share triggers. When people watch high-level conversation, it gives them a glimmer. It gives them hope of the future. It makes them think expansive. Now they have exposure, and that can't be taken away, because usually those type of conversations, you're afraid to have with people, because of how they gonna judge you. So you don't feel safe being high level. Let me get this little clicker working. As we go through this artificial intelligence age, I want to give y'all some game on this. How many people in here use ChatGPT? Okay. How many people in here use Bard? How many people in here use Claude.ai? See, the way I look at it, when we talk about fast consumption, the unfortunate reality is we can get the greatest technological tool in our pocket. We consume it so fast and put it down. How many people picked up ChatGPT and then maybe 2 weeks later they was done with it? Fast consumption. If somebody from another era was given the same tools that you have, that's all they would need to build an empire. But today we go through blockchain, we go through NFTs, oh, it's just a little block, it's just a little art bubble. We never thought about the digital infrastructure.